Okay, for learning activity 3, we're going to look at a simple app that does a pizza order. Kind of like a Domino's pizza ordering app, a very simple version of that. We're going to start with a basic one, and then we're going to add some architecture to it. So we're going to look at the model view model setup, and basically add Android view model to this. To get started, we're going to use this GitHub project. So you have to click on this link. It'll open you up. You will have to accept this project, and you may if you aren't logged into GitHub or don't have a login, make sure you create a login and log in, and then you'll get accept this. And once you accept the assignment within this GitHub classroom, you'll be GitHub will create your own copy of the assignment, and then you'll go to it here. So then you'll see this sort of an assignment with some beginning code here for you to use. So your job is to copy this URL here and then run Android Studio. In Android Studio, we want to open up a new project from version control. So we're going to get a project from version control, click on that. By default, it should say Git up here. You paste in your URL here, and then this is where it's going to be saving the project and what's going to be called, and usually you can just leave that alone. And then now you're going to clone this project, and again this will copy all the initial code down from the GitHub cloud onto your computer, and then you can start working on it. So first thing I'll ask you is, do you trust this project? It opened this up in a separate screen so you can't see that. Let me move it over here, but I already clicked on the trust this project. Good, because you're bringing this project in from somewhere else. It's just a little worried about that issue. And then we have our project here. You might have to wait for it to build for a while. Gradle will build here. Hopefully you'll have the same version of Gradle. If it asks you to update Gradle, you should do that. We don't want to, again, update Android Studio. We want to keep with Arctic Fox Android Studio 2020.3.1. But Gradle is a build environment within Android Studio, and you might need to update that. But again, I should have these projects updated to work with your version of Gradle. You can also click on the project here, and again, it is still building the Gradle, and so eventually it'll show the project. Initially, it won't show the project file very well until this builds. So I'm just going to let this build for a sec. Okay, and while it's building, let's look at what we're going to do with this. So we're going to start with this starter project, take a look at it, and then we're going to add a view model class to it, and then we're going to use a pizza object version there. So let's see if this is done building here. Now this looks good. This has our app folder and our Gradle scripts folder. I can go into apps, go into Java, and here's my main class, and here's our 3 classes. And then under resources, I can look there under layout and activity main. So again, here's our simple pizza order, and we're just going to order, we can order a couple pizzas. We can select the size. This is what is called a seek bar. I can click on this bar to get different sizes, and it'll change this text here to small, medium, large. I can then click on what toppings I want, and then I can hit add to order, and that'll add it to this order here. Now this isn't going to store it in a database yet. We'll work on that maybe in the future, but it just sets things up initially. So the main activity here, let's look at that. So the main activity here, again, just has a simple interface here and an on crate. So we have our interfaces to, our ties to the elements in our view here in our XML file, so we have variables for those. The first thing we want to work with is this seek bar here. Again, that doesn't that's already kind of set up for you. We define a on progress change method. We grab the progress, which is integer, and that's going to give us an integer 0, 1, 2, 3 for the size of the pizza, and then we are going to get that text here. We're going to use a pizza size string up here, and then just index into that to get the right size of the pizza. So that's set up here already. Then you can order a pizza. Let's just see if we can look at this app. Here's the app. Let me make it so it'll maybe fit on the screen. So again, we can switch the pizza size here. We can then select what kind of toppings we want and add to order. And right now, add to order just logging stuff. Now, this is a special log message that'll set up, and we can look into the log file here, and we should see the log messages. Now, there's going to be lots of messages from our computer here going through here. I'm going to switch this rather than verbose to debug here, and that'll reduce the number of messages that I'm seeing, but I'm still seeing a lot. And so we put a tag in here, 333. So I'm going to filter on that tag here, and then I only see messages that match that tag. So it's important when we want to log things to just put in some tag which you can search. So again, it just says the order button was clicked there, and again, if I click the order button again, it'll say it again. So right now I don't have any code for the order button. And again, what the idea is that you should order a couple pieces, place or add that, and then we'll display the order information here, and then eventually you hit this place order button. And again, we're not doing anything here either. So that's what we have to do. And again, we're also, I guess there's a little routine here for getting the toppings string. So when we are going to get the toppings, we'll check which of the little check boxes here are checked. These are called chips. They're kind of like a special kind of a checkbox here called chips. And so we'll check which ones are those done. So that's all done for you here. The other thing is we have then two items. We have a pizza, which keeps track of a specific pizza here. A string for the toppings, the price of the pizza, string for the size, and a description of the pizza. You can create a pizza here. You can get the price and get a toString. And toStrings just simply returns the description for that. So we have that. And then we have a pizza order class. And so a pizza order class is going to just keep a list of pizzas. So this is list of pizzas. We can also track deliveries. Right now we're not using anything with deliveries, so we could have that there. Now we have a constructor. We just create a pizza and it creates a new array list for this, an empty array list. And then we can order a pizza. We can add a pizza given so many toppings and a size as integer. Then we will create that pizza, create a new pizza, and add that pizza to our array list here, our list here. We can also get the order, and that'll create an array of strings and then add each of these strings. So basically it returns an array of strings back of each order. We can also calculate the total bill, and again it'll go through all the pizzas. So for each pizza P in our pizza order array, we're going to get the price and add it to this total, check if there's delivery, and if we had to add a fee for that, and then return total amount so we can get the total bill. And then there's a couple getters or setters for the delivery amount. So that's the basic program for the pizza type. So let's see what we have to do here. But again, right now there's no tie between the main activity and these pizzas that we have yet. So we're going to set this up with a view model in between. So we're going to create a view model class. It must extend the view model parent class here, and then inside that we're going to declare a pizza order object. So let's go back to our code here. Okay, I'm going to stop this from running right now so I can do some adding here. I'm going to add a new class. So in order to add a new class, I'm going to right click in the folder under my Java folder here, right click on that and choose new Java class. Now, if we're adding some special things like activities or fragments or stuff like that, there are some built-in methods for doing those, or templates here, but for the view model there isn't. So I'm just going to add a generic Java class, and I'm going to call this is going to be the main view, the view model attached to the main activity. So I'm just going to call this main view model here. And so it should create a new class. Now it's going to ask if we want to add to Git, and you should always say yes on these things. You want to make sure it saves that to GitHub and stuff like that. Okay, so this is our new view model class, and again, we want this to inherit things, so we want to make sure this extends the view model parent class. So up here where I declare my class, I'm just going to type in extends view model. And it should be this view model that's in Android lifecycle here. So, and so it should do this import already, this Android x.lifecycle.view model. It should add that import. If it doesn't, it might underline this, and you should be able to right click and show context actions and choose to do that here. So that's our class. And again, integrating this with the view model will mean this will kind of live outside the activity lifecycle. So as our activity starts and restarts and stuff like this, this view model will stay the same. Okay, and then what do we want to do? In the view model, we want to create a pizza order object. So again, this is pretty standard how we want to declare a pizza order object. We have this pizza order class here, and we have a simple constructor with no parameters for that. So we're just going to say declare a pizza order. Give it some name. I'm just going to call it pizza order. I'm going to just initialize it right now. We're just going to say, oops, cap lock got stuck on new pizza order semicolon. Okay, so that this will be our pizza order. So maybe I'll put in a comment here. Holds our orders, pizza orders app. All right, so we've done that. Now in the main activity, then we're going to want to create one of these view model class and instantiate it in a special way here. So this is what we have to do, is instantiate that. I'm just going to copy this code over and then go into my main class. Okay, so into my main activity here. So where are my variables? Here's where it's inside, of course, the class. And here's my variables, and I'm going to add a view model in here. So again, it has to be, what did I call the view model? I called it the main view model, so I have to make it that type, main view model, and give it some name for this, and I'm just going to call it main view model with the lower case letter here. Now here I'm going to initialize this in my onCreate method for this. So I'm going to go down to the onCreate method and do this special initialization. This is where I'm copying the code from here into this, because again, it's kind of a strange, we have to use this view model factory. So I'm going to, here's where we initialize all the other variables. I'm just going to go right after that and say set up view model, and then paste in that code. Now, what is my variable name? I called it main view model here. So I'm going to say main view model here. And what's the class? And that is main view model with the uppercase M. So this is how I set up my view model here. I'm going to say main view model equals new. And again, this is kind of like the view model factory or provider. This is a special way, special object that creates view models for us. So I have to say .get, and then I have to specify which class to use to create the view model. So I set that up here. Okay, so I've declared it and initialized it. It should be ready to go now. In my program, I can use this main view model variable. Okay, now we want to set up the order button. We're going to look at the order pizza method in the order class and add a new method to the view model that calls the pizza order method, and then we want to add that to the onClick method. So again, here when I do an onClick for the handles the place order button, so one's place order and one's add order. So this is the add order button here, the add order. So when I'm adding to the order here, I want to call the order. And again, in my pizza order there's a class called order pizza. That's what I want to do. But again, I'm not going to go right from my main activity into the pizza order here. Let's move it here. And I'm going to go to the view model and then over here. So I need something in the view model that'll do this. So just like I order a pizza here, I'm actually going to look at that same sort of method here and put something similar to that in my view model to start with. So, but I think I'm going to call this something a little bit different. I'm going to call this add to order here, and I specify toppings and the size, and then I just going to order things. So this method is going to call this method order pizza from my pizza object. And remember, I have a pizza object. Oops, view model. In my pizza object, I have this pizza order object. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to call it the order pizza method, and I have to specify the toppings, and now I have those, and the size. So again, that's why I want to use these same parameters here. I've got to get from the main activity, I've got to get the toppings and the size to send here. And so I've got to have those as parameters to this. So basically, unless I can decide what the parameters are, basically I have to have the same parameters in this method as in the order pizza, because I have to provide that information to the order pizza, the pizza order object, so it can order the pizza for this. Okay, so now I'm going to order the pizza for this. Now, let's see, do I want to return anything here? Right now I have this returning a string. I don't need to return anything. I'm just going to make this a void here. So public void add to order and specify stuff, and it adds it. Now, once I have that here, I can add that to the main activity. And again, I want to add a method to the view model class that orders pizza. I did that. Now I'm going to go to the onClick method and add that. So let's go to our onClick method and add this order here. So here's my onClick method. And I got to get the right one. One button places the order and one adds to the order. That's what I want to add to order here. And this is a good reason for adding comments here. I'm going to start requiring you to do comments because, again, I could look at it right here. It says add to order, but it's really helpful to have some comments that also make that clear. So now I'm going to call this order, and so that's in my main view. So what's my variable is called main view model dot add to order, and I have to specify two strings. Now, eventually I want to get these from the interface here, but to start with, I want to keep this simple. I want to just get this to work, so I'm just going to hard code in a string test topping and a size, which is an integer here, and how big of an integer should it be? It looks like it has to be an integer between like 0 and 1 or something like that, and I'm not doing very good checks in that, so let's just try a 1 here for that. So now that'll place my order for this method. Now I can see if this is actually going to work or crash for this. So I'm going to bring up where's my screen again, run this, and see if I have a crash or not when I hit this button. So I select a size, not that it matters. I select topping. Now I'm actually ignoring all those. I'm just going to add to order button. And it says add to order button clicked, and it didn't crash. So it seems to be working out okay for this. Okay, let's stop this for now and look and see how we're doing. So now, when I run this, it doesn't actually display the order at all. So again, in my screen here, oops, it's gone now. It's not displaying the what is ordered, and so that's what we're going to do now is display the pizza order for this. So let's go back. I'm going to use the pizza. So once I've displayed an order. So I've ordered a pizza. Now I want to get the order and do this. And this is going to return an array of strings uh, for the entire order. So it's going to return the entire order here. So I'm going to want to here in the main activity when after I place the order, I want to then update the display here. But I have to get that from this main window here. I mean, my view model. So I'm going to have another method here, uh, another public method because I have to get at it from the main activity. And I'm going to just get an order. So I have add order and get order. And I think get order shouldn't have to get anything here. Um, and I'm going to get the order now. Um, I don't know what this is going to return here, so I have to kind of figure that out. Uh, I don't know what the return type is going to be quite yet. So let's kind of work on what are some options. So first I'm going to get the order from the order object here. So I'm going to call get order and it's going to return to me, a list of strings here. So that's the first thing I can do is I can call pizza order dot get order and that'll return a list of strings. I better save that to something, a list of strings here. How do I do this? List, string, and give it some name here. So it's order, and then go out and call the pizza order thing for that. And so I get this array of string. Now I could consider just returning this whole array of pizzas back. So we could do that, but we don't want to necessarily return that. Let's look at what our interface looks like. Not our interface, our user structure here, our user interface here, and I just have a text string here. So if this were maybe a list of objects, maybe an array would work out better and I could fill this with this array, but I don't have it. I just have one long text field here. So I just want one string that's going to describe the order. So basically I want to create a big string and display it here. So the user interface says I just want one string to describe the order, summarize the order here. So one thing I was thinking of doing, I would just go here and return a list of strings, and I could just then return pizza order here and be done with it. But I don't want to necessarily return an array of strings. I'm getting this error here. I'm just trying to figure out this. Oh, it says pizza order may not have been initialized here. And I see my problem is I already have a variable called pizza order and I was renaming this. So let's make this not called pizza order, but it's called something else here. Maybe we'll just call it pizzas. Okay, and then we're going to return. Yeah. So again, this would work if we're going to return a whole array of pizzas, array of strings. But I actually just I use my main activity just wants one string. So I'm going to do some work here in the view model and just return a single string. Oops. So I'm getting a whole string, but I need to do some work before I can return that. Here. So I've got an array of strings and I'm going to just convert this array of strings into a single string. So I want to create a new string. So I've got to loop through all the pizza orders. Maybe I have 4 pizzas ordered. I'm going to loop through each of those and add them to a string. So I'm going to declare a string. So yeah, I need a string here, and I'm going to call this maybe order text. Initialize that to an empty string, and then I'll maybe here you could, this would be a good coding thing if can you just loop through this array, this list of strings, and concatenate them all together into this order text. So how would you do that? So, so maybe you want to pause, try that, and then play back and see what I do. So I'm going to do a for string pizza pizzas. Okay, so for each string in the array, we're going to say order text plus equal, or yeah, I'll just do it this way, order text plus string pizzas. Right now it's just putting them all together. Eventually we might want a new line in here, but this is a good start for this. And then once I've got that order text all done, I'm going to return that order text here. So I'm going to, again, loop through all the orders, all the strings, and concatenate them each to this new string and return this new string. So this should get the orders. So that's looking pretty good. So in our main activity, we're going to call this get order here. So I'm going to call, again, are you going to use my view model, main view model dot get order to get the order. Now that'll return a string. Where do I want that string to go? So if I look at my field here, I've got this big text box down here. It's called the edit text order. Now, do I have a variable for that? Edit text order. So here, text order, here it is. So text order, that's where I'm going to put it. So I'm just going to say, where was I? Text order dot set text. And I'm going to have to specify a string there, and I'm going to use this string right there. Okay, so that'll go out, get this order string, and set it up here. I'm going to leave this log statement here for now. That should be fine. Well, this work looks like I still have an error over here. It looks like it's not liking list. I'm going to right click show context. It's going to import that class. It needs the Java util list class up here. Okay. That looks good. Now let's try to run this, see if I can place an order and display it. So where's my screen here? Oops. So again, I can select now the size, select the toppings, add it to the order, and it should actually add it to the order. Right now it's saying medium test topping pizza here rather than what I've ordered, but it is actually ordering something. You can order again, and it is putting them both here. So again, let's go back. Now it's working. We have to clear up some errors here. So remember back when I'd placed the orders in my view model here, well, in the main activity, when I called the view model, I just said order and this sort of stuff. So what I need to do is actually get some strings from what I ordered. So I have to figure out how to do that. So let's look at this. So first I need to get the size, or a string for the toppings. Now the toppings are set by clicking on these tabs. So I have to go check if this is clicked, or this is clicked, or this is clicked, and that sort of stuff. So I actually have already a method for that. I have a get toppings method. Creates an empty string and checks if the different parts are checked and adds them all to this text and returns that string. So I can just call get toppings here for this first one. That's already ready to go. So I can just call get toppings here. Now the size is going to be a number. And again, I have this seeker bar up here. And when you change the secret bar, I have this pizza size variable I set here. And what is that pizza size variable? Why am I not seeing? Oh, up here. Pizza size is an integer, which is what I want. So that's already being set up here when I do my secret bar. So I just have to do, rather than always saying size of 1, I'm going to just say use the pizza size here. Okay, so I get the toppings and the pizza size. I send those to the add order button in the view model. That will use the pizza order to create an order. Then I want to display that order. So I say get order in the main view. That'll then call get order from the pizza order to get a string. It'll put it together in the display here. So that's looking pretty good. Let's see if we can update this to run here. Okay, so let's see, did it do anything? Yeah, so it has a couple of different orders here. It has my old orders and not. I'm going to actually stop this because it still has a couple orders in it. So I'm going to stop this and run this again. So let's try that. Because again, the view model stays around even through this. So I'm going to order a large pepperoni pizza. Add that to order. Large pepperoni pizza. Okay, now I want to try to do a small, let's do a chicken and green pepper order. Small chicken and green pepper pizza. Now, this concatenated these all together. I'm going to actually have these on separate lines. And so one of the tricks is we can put in a new line between these. So where's that done? So this is looking for a string. The main view is going through the pizza orders and putting this together into one string. But I want to add a new line into here for each one. So I'm going to add a new line in here. So I'm going to take this order text and take this string of pizza, and I'm also going to add a new line. So there's a couple ways of doing new line. I'm just going to do this simple old-fashioned one. It's the \n is a new line in the string. So \n is a shortcut for new line, and so we can try that. So now I can update that and just say, okay, I'm going to just try a medium chicken pizza and add it to the order. So now it's large pepperoni pizza, small chicken and green peppers pizza, and a medium chicken pizza. And again, I can add another order to the order. I can change this up, add it to the order, and it keeps building this order up and up. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's see how we're doing with things. So we created the add order button. We displayed the pizza, call the new method with the add order button, display it in the text order widget. Okay, now we want to save these changes because I want to be able to see these. So we have to push these to GitHub. So if I go up here, this is my GitHub project. And again, it's in the special CIS classroom that I've set up, but it should be your copy of it. And I look here and I see only one commit. That's only one update. And that was my original update that I did. So you will also have that. But now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do a new commit. So there's a couple ways of doing this. You can go under Git and do a commit and a push. So commit stores it locally, push sends it up to the GitHub cloud. And then there's also this commit over here. And I often just use this because it's easily available. So over here I can click on this commit. I'm going to select all the files that have been changed here. And I'm going to type in a message like finished learning activity, because we're going to work this more. You'll have another commit after this. And again, you can say like partially finished or added this part, or you can do anything. You can do multiple commits for this. You don't have to do just a commit when you're done with the activity here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say commit. I'm going to say commit and push. You always want to do a commit and push to get it up to the cloud. So it'll ask, there's some problems, there's always warnings. And again, Android has lots of warnings. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to review them. You just have to hit commit and push. to get them up there. Now here's the push window. It's showing you what files it's pushing up. Here's the two files. One file we added, one file we changed, and again, there's some XML files that also get updated. And I'm just going to hit the push, so I don't have to change anything here. Just hit the push button. Now, if you're logged into GitHub properly and authenticated, it should just push it up. And now under the commit window, there should be no changes. I can switch back to the project view. Now, if I go over here and I hit refresh, I'll see two commits. So I can click on that, and this is T. Gibbons. Oh no, the Gibbons Classroom did the initial commit with the code, and this is my commit. And I, as your instructor, can see these changes for this. So I can actually go in here and just see what's been changed. Here I can see. Oh, yeah, we added this file. This whole file is new, and then in this file we added this line and this line. These three lines, the green lines, are all new. Oh, and this was new, so I can quickly see what was added to this code for this. You can also go and look at the actual code here. It's sometimes hard to find it in these folders, but I can go in here and find the actual Java code. Here's the new main activity code here. So, and I can see it has my changes here. I added these lines in here, so I know it is. But again, the easiest way often is just make sure that the number of commits increases for this. Okay, so then you're done. You just have to submit something that says committed to GitHub, or pushed and committed, or something like that, just so you submit something for the assignment, and now I know then to go look in GitHub Classroom for your changes for this. So that's how this program works. Again, the initial time getting set up for GitHub can be complicated, so let me know if you need help getting that. And you may want to go back to this Unit 3 and using GitHub with Android Studio, and this authentication with a token process. If you're getting some sort of 404 error or whatever, you have to probably go through this authentication process in Android Studio to get it authenticated with your GitHub. So keep that in mind. Okay, good luck.